Hey, welcome back to the channel. Thanks so much for checking out this video. Hope everybody is having a fantastic day. I actually did this video yesterday and somehow it got messed up. So here we go again. I'm gonna take a second shot at it. And the other day I did a video about the Fever Mercury game, and one of the things I showed in there and talked about was when Caitlin Clark was bringing the ball up as a point guard and asking for a pick to become set for her, and her coach on the sideline waves it away, tells Caitlin Clark exactly the player to pass to, which is insane because you're telling the other team. Like she didn't even she didn't even call a different play. She didn't even say, like you should have a number or a word or a combination or something. You should be able to call out a play for your team if that's what you're going to do. You don't just point to the player you want your point guard to pass the ball to. But there was another thing in that I wanted to do a separate video on because I thought it was really important as well for a couple of different reasons. Now, this is after that play. So, by the way, that play, which was it looked like Caitlin Clark was waving over Kelsey Mitchell, but I think in looking at it again, it might have been Dantas. But either way, she's waiting. She's on the right side, waving one of the players on that side to come out and set a pick for her, with about 45 seconds to go in the quarter. About 30 seconds later, and I think I did this in the same video, Kelsey Mitchell comes over from that position, sets a great pick, and Caitlin Clark goes to the basket for a layup with about 10 seconds left. Like literally 30 seconds after this. And if you saw that video, you also see that the play that Christie Sides wanted ended up in a turnover, and then the play Caitlin Clark wanted ends up in a layup. But so anyway, after that half, this is only a few seconds long, but I think it's important because it's a important dynamic I want to talk about. If you look over to the right, the quarter just ended. You see Caitlin Clark's already got her hands out. Her and Size are having a discussion clearly. And then right, Christy Sides grabs her. Now, don't get it twisted. Like I'm not over the top upset about this. It wasn't like it wasn't all a terrible thing in the way she did it, but she did grab her there to continue that discussion, and that is something she has done in the past. The only thing I would point out is just a little disrespectful because it wasn't like in retaliation for anything that Caitlin Clark did, and of course we would be having a discussion about it if that were a male coach for sure. But what I really wanted to point out that I think is very important and is interesting going forward is what this dynamic does for the team. And what I mean is, while it's important players don't show up, coaches publicly out there competing, and I think a great example that I will use because probably everybody has seen it, and that was Travis Kelsey's absolutely terrible, terrible behavior on the sideline in the way he was screaming in Andy Reid's face. No excuse like that. That to me, that was the over the line type of stuff. Players are going to have emotions. Like maybe in football, a player comes off the field because for whatever reason, and we don't know in watching. So right, but maybe he didn't like what a teammate did, or he didn't like the play call of the coach, and he walks off and he slams his helmet down on the bench. Or I think as we saw with Caitlin Clark, just not about anything specific. I think the frustration with the game where she came out at I think a quarter break. Might have been after the third or a timeout, and she slams her hand on the chair. That type of stuff's going to happen in the moment with players, but there's definitely a line you don't want to cross. However, it goes the other way as well, and this is really, really important. Coaches can't do that to players either. And you have this situation where you have your point guard, be like the quarterback in football, who's running your offense, and she is asking for something specific. You can see with the hand motion, she's asking for a teammate to come set a pick for her. And you, as the coach, right there on the sideline next to her, say, no, no, wave that off. You tell the player who she asked to pick for to stay where they are. You point to the player you want Caitlin to pass the ball to. You have just, you have completely embarrassed your player, your franchise player. You've completely undermined her in terms of her leadership role and role as the point guard with the rest of the team. You've shown that you do not trust her, and you've made that entirely, completely clear for the rest of the team. So you've embarrassed her, you've undermined her, you've shown the team that you don't trust her. And now you've made it clear that it is okay for the rest of the players to ignore her as well, because why wouldn't they? You, as the coach, just showed them you don't trust her and you're not going to let her run the play she was trying to run. And by the way, this is something you see from Mitchell all the time. Again, in that video, I showed probably the most ridiculous clip of Mitchell chucking up a three, getting a rebound, having a wide open Caitlin Clark for a three. How often do you get that opportunity? Instead, dribbles by her down the sideline, then dribbles baseline, and then dribbles in a circle twice and comes back out to the same sideline and then chucks up a brick of a three. Have any of you ever heard Christie Sides talk about those types of plays with Kelsey Mitchell? No. Never has a bad word to say. Never addresses the stuff that Kelsey Mitchell does. You had a play later in the game where Caitlin Clark fires the ball up court to a wide open Mitchell for a three. However, you also had Melissa Smith running the court, who was wide open under the basket for a layup. That absolutely should have been the pass Kelsey Mitchell made, who, by the way, at this point has already not been shooting well from three, and instead she shoots it. Guarantee you Caitlin Clark would not have shot it. Does Christie Sides address that stuff? No, she absolutely does not address that stuff. So she allows and reinforces Kelsey Mitchell's bad behavior and other players too, and then does stuff like this with Caitlin Clark that it makes you wonder, how is that going to impact the team going forward for the rest of the season? Again, you as the head coach are showing during the game that you do not trust your point guard. You are embarrassing her, you are undermining her, and then you have the nerve to grab her, which again, complete lack of respect shown. Complete lack of respect shown. Christie Sides is not a professional head coach. She absolutely is not a professional head coach. It's driving me crazy that this woman is still coaching this team. And yes, I know a lot of you have said in the comments, and I agree, that Lynn Dunn should be getting this as well. And you're absolutely right, because Lynn Dunn is the one who hired Christie Sides. Lynn Dunn is the one who keeps Christie Sides around. Lynn Dunn clearly is not going to fire Christie Sides. And unfortunately, you have an owner who's checked out and doesn't really care what happens with this team. So he is not going to fire Lynn Dunn. So I don't know. I don't know that a change is going to be made other than the fans make it somehow so unbearable that they have to. But I just wanted to go through this little bit too, because I think it's one of those things that can really impact the cohesiveness of a team going forward. Now, the really interesting thing that I will add to this, because I think we've seen it in the change in how they've played, is I think the players, I mean, not Kelsey Mitchell, because Kelsey Mitchell is just a selfish player, period. She'll happily rack up her points by being the beneficiary of passes from Caitlin Clark so she can make layups. And then people can talk about how Kelsey Mitchell shoots better. Nonsense. But other players, I think they've learned to trust Caitlin Clark and to realize that if they play with Caitlin Clark in the way Caitlin Clark wants to play, they're going to be the beneficiary and they're going to rack up big games. Right? Aaliyah Boston is fantastic when she runs the court. Melissa Smith, who I still don't trust, but I really want to, because at times I really like the way she plays. but I think she's seen that as well. I think she's had some big games. Lexi Hull's clearly bought in. Katie Lou Samuelson's clearly bought in. So we'll see going forward how that's going to work. I mean, it's crazy to say, but it's almost like at this point, the more that the Fever ignore the coach on the court, the better off their chances of winning some games. But one thing I want to share real quick before this, because I pointed this out, but I didn't have this. Someone created this image, Jess Fever bandwagon. This cracks me up, right? And you could add other stats for Boston and Clark and probably even Melissa Smith, but Kelsey now she just runs the court and gets wide open layups on passes from Clark. Actually, she also had a wide open bucket from Aaliyah Boston because it went from Clark to Boston to Mitchell. But yeah, it's just funny because you see all the multiple stats. Look at that, three. Look at that, folks. Three double doubles in the same game by teammates. Just thought I'd put that out there. Um, and then all it says for Kelsey Mitchell is the points. But I'm going to leave it there. Let me know your thoughts below in terms of the dynamic with this team and the way Christie Sides acts towards Caitlin Clark and how that impacts the rest of the team and how they play and what that means going forward. I'm going to leave it there for now. Thanks so much for checking out this video. Please like, comment, subscribe, all that awesome stuff. We have passed 5,000 subscribers. Thank you so much for that. That is absolutely insane. When I first started doing this, I thought, yeah, well, this will be my way to continue arguing sports with my father, and maybe I'll get 50 or 100 people that'll be wanting to check it out. So yeah, really, really cool. Thank you so much, and I'm gonna leave it there. I will talk to you later.